Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII was a game I had always wanted to finish. My first Final Fantasy was 10, and I knew 7 was an important part of the series, but because I knew Crisis Core was before it in the timeline, I wanted to do it right and play that first. But when I started, I was in a pretty hectic second year of college that only saw me get so far into it on PSP despite having a lot of fun with it. In hindsight, I'm almost glad I didn't finish it, as this new Crisis Core Reunion version was a gorgeous way to experience it. The Final Fantasy VII Remake aesthetic makes Reunion look beautiful, alongside consistent voices in combat that make it easy to pick up and fixes certain parts that made the PSP version feel clunky while still keeping some of its likable quirks that makes it a version of Crisis Core that feels definitive. It let me fulfill my dream of finishing it in a beautiful way with a story that was more touching than I ever expected, and makes it easy to recommend whether you're looking to finally finish it like I was, or to experience this worthwhile chapter of Final Fantasy VII in a modern and stunning way. Instead of following Final Fantasy VII's main protagonist Cloud, Crisis Core follows Zack Fair, a soldier second class who has the unrealistic goal of becoming a hero. In order to do this, he completes missions for Company Shinra with his mentor Angeal, with their beginning troubles involving finding a missing first-class soldier who has mysteriously disappeared. In true Final Fantasy fashion, this is just where things begin, and the story grows well beyond this, with appearances from Sephiroth and other favorites to be things that make Zack's story grow closer and at times further to his initial goal, as chapter by chapter his story creates an interesting foundation for the world of Final Fantasy VII to rest on. The story of Crisis Core is told through chapters, with each chapter seeing Zack being taken somewhere in the linear story. You usually start off at Shinra as a base, have a chance to do up your equipment, create some materia for skills, do training or quests, then set off on your merry way to see the story, and there are things that break up these moments, like the variety of random minigames and side quests that Crisis Core likes to throw at you to help keep things interesting. As you set out on your Shinra missions, you're usually given an objective to head towards while dealing with random battles. That is where I started to feel the first difference between Crisis Core Reunion and the original on PSP. In the original, every attack you do, including basic ones, feels like casting spells one at a time, making things feel a little slow and clunky. Instead of this, Reunion has adopted Square's more usual action and comboing system, where you can hit the attack button in quick succession and get a nice chain feeling like you would expect in most games these days. Going between the PSP version of Crisis Core and this Reunion one, Reunion feels so much slicker and smoother to play thanks to how responsive it is, that makes playing it feel much better, that made me happy to be playing it in this way. It's a good match with the unique parts of Crisis Core's battle system too, like the digital mindwave system where a slot-like mechanism is constantly rolling as the apparent way Zack's mind works, and depending on his thoughts of the numbers it falls on, Zack is buffed in different ways, which can be leveling up, having AP and MP cost nothing for a bit, or getting limit breaks, which means battle never feels like you're constantly just hacking away at enemies, as there's always something to consider that changes the way you play with this one-man army, and I like that it encouraged me to use my various skills that meant each battle felt different. It also likes to chuck in story scenes occasionally, as this system is supposed to be part of Zack's mind, and in things like boss battles with or against someone who had a scene the system focused on, it helped to make them feel more meaningful in a way that let me enjoy the unique things this system offered. Also, in something I'm not used to complimenting, I really liked how all the buttons were mapped, with it simple to scroll through and use items thanks to the shortcut at the bottom of the screen, with there also being a difference between the buttons you press for breaks versus summons, and even the button you press to use potions quickly between battle. Everything nicely has its place on the controller that makes it easy to use and remember, making it feel like it was a smooth experience beyond its updated visuals. The only thing that I felt was less smooth was how frequent its random battles can pop up, which isn't bad if you're following the main story, but can get a bit grating when doing missions. It can feel like every point on the map you're gonna hear that activating combat mode pop up, and since there's no minimap and instead a direction at the top of the screen that only guides you to the main goal, I found myself getting a little disoriented at times when trying to find things like treasure, as you tend to find yourself standing at a different spot after battle. I got into the habit of checking the map after battles or even during, trying to keep myself facing where I need to go. That isn't something I've had to do in other games, but I've also found myself forgiving of Crisis Core Reunion shortcomings like this, and even its voice acting at times, even though it's new, as it was originally a PSP game that wasn't smooth either, and I even came to find the frequency of battles battles, giving it what I thought is PSP charm that had me completely unbothered by any of its shortcomings by the end of it. This, partnered with quirky minigames like the one that makes you do squats or the blending perfume I need to go back and do, reminded me of the weirder parts of Final Fantasy that helped me get into the series, and mixed with its complex story that had me always wanting to see what happened next, the overall fast and varied pace of Reunion had me enjoying each chapter I played. In my 16 hours with Crisis Core Reunion, its story came the thing I loved most about it, with its good protagonist at the helm, and the way the story grows around him set the stage for an ending that hit me exactly as it should. As a Final Fantasy protagonist, Zack is a breath of fresh air with his spunky personality that comes off both as confident and a little goofy, and because of that, he's likable from the start, making it easy to get invested in his story and relationships, especially because he cares about the people around him too. Key story players like the epic Sephiroth and lovable Aerith fill the roles they should too, but this new story and new character to interact with shows us more of their personalities that made me feel like I understood them better, especially someone like Sephiroth, who is such an enigma in VII Remake, finally feeling like there's more to him after having played through this. New faces like Angel and Cisne do well at expanding Zack's story, and watching the relationships he makes throughout and remembers in battle led to an ending that got me right in the feels at the end, and I love how it added meaning to a game that I already finished that is exactly what a prequel like this should do, and this is only helped by how good it looks and feels in this new version. Aside from feeling smoother in gameplay, the way the old pre-rendered, now up-res cutscenes mostly blend in with the high-quality visuals that fit in with the style of VII Remaster make this Reunion version of Crisis Core easily fit in as another part of the modern retelling of this classic story. And for me, as someone witnessing this story in full for the first time, the consistency makes it easy to enjoy if the last thing you played was VII Remake, with the added bonus that everything is fairly faithful to the PSP version, but with that modern touch. It's exactly the way I could have hoped to come back to this part of Final Fantasy VII, and I now understand why people recommended it so strongly back in the day, as the story really has made the world of VII more meaningful for me, and thoughts of replaying Crisis Core or Remake are currently crossing my mind as the ending has me feeling really invested in the world. I'm gonna hold off as the next part of Remake is coming next year, but if you're looking for a Final Fantasy protagonist to get invested in now, Crisis Core's focus on Zack's part of VII's story is a fantastic way to get excited to see more of Final Fantasy VII in the future, and I'm glad could let me finish this PSP game I had put down, as it definitely proved to be worth it. Crisis Core Reunion made me want to sink my teeth into more parts of Final Fantasy VII, including this game, which would be easy to do as there are many things that make it replayable. There's New Game Plus that I enjoyed feeling powerful in after my first playthrough that is good if you didn't do every single mission in your first playthrough like I did, and the time I spent checking out more of those missions for this review was really fun, especially since during my playthrough I only did a few for certain materia. Since I've come to find its many battles popping up charming in its own way, this may be something I keep in mind for stress relief, as it does feel satisfying to take enemies down in, but there are other side quests and activities that I'm sure I miss, like the perfume one, as its trophies show a lot of things you can easily run past in a first playthrough, so while I'm happy with its length, I also like that I have a bit to come back to, with playthroughs definitely able to be made longer or shorter depending how many extras you do. I hope I get a chance to get back to Reunion sometime, whether it be in this version, in English, or for Japanese study, as I really was surprised how hard those final moments of the story hit me, and it's made Zack Fair a key character for the series for me that makes me want to refresh myself on just how much he impacts Cloud's story. One thing for sure is that Crisis Core Reunion was a special experience that I'm glad to have seen through, and I'm glad exists as a way to enjoy this PSP game in a way that does this older story justice. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion has brought a great Final Fantasy story to modern consoles in a fitting way, and while for better or worse it's faithful to the PSP version, its modern touches make this fantastic story one that is easy to enjoy. I'm still recovering from its ending smacking me in the feels that says a lot for how good this story focused on one character gets you into it, and whether it be feeling powerful in battle with its slick new version of its combat, or seeing all the memories pop up as you get stronger, it's a unique Final Fantasy experience that strength of story is deserving of the quality remaster it's been given. If you can fit it in during a day or two at the end of the year, I absolutely recommend this experience for the ride it can take you on, and it has me super excited to continue in the series' next remake, as it's shown me the interesting and moving foundations that the world of Final Fantasy VII is set on. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below if you've tried Crisis Core Reunion, and if you have, what did you think of it? You can like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content like this, and ring that bell to get notifications on whenever I post so you don't miss a thing. You can check out more videos here, and you can find me on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at JRPG Jungle. Links to those will be in the description below. Thank you to Square Enix for the code, and until next time, thank you, bye!